Are you an empath? Are you worried that you might be narcissistic or even a narcissist? Is this something you spend a lot of time researching? In this video, I'm going to be covering a few things. One, why that's not true, where it comes from, and some realizations and insights you can have to get out of this label, this seesaw of like empath narcissist paradigm altogether, and go to the deeper places within yourself to resolve this issue. My name's Adam. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm a divine freedom and clarity coach. Before we get started for today, I just want to let you know I'm doing some more free breakthrough calls. I'm not going to be doing these for much longer. There's a link pinned in the comment section below. These are amazing 30-minute calls where we go over your vision for your life, the core and roots of what's blocking you and stopping you from creating it, and then some steps you can take to finally call in what you really want to create. Now, I just recently did a video on the only thing that empaths need to know about narcissists, and the topic of the video largely was about how I'm very frustrated by all the narcissist content out there, and that basically the only thing empaths need to know about narcissists is essentially that they're narcissists and those kinds of people exist. And what needs to happen next is how to move on, how to leave, and how to heal. And this is true, but what I'm finding from a lot of the comments that I'm receiving from that video and in general is there seems to be this confusion in a lot of empaths as to whether or not they're actually a narcissist. There's a few things that need to be unpacked and untangled here. The first is this. We tend to need to label everything. Now, we want labels. We do need labels to some extent to help sort and classify different topics, different subjects, so we can get an idea of what something is. So the mind can conceptualize it, therefore learn from it, learn different lessons, learn different concepts, ideas, and move on. The problem is we can over-classify things too much and get obsessed with what the label means and our association with what it means. Now, ultimately, it doesn't matter that much whether you're a narcissist or an empath. The question is this: do you care? See, if you actually are going out there researching whether or not you're a narcissist or not, it implies on some level that you care, because you wouldn't be doing it otherwise. So let's just say it this way. Someone who's a narcissist in a way that's very, very self-centered, maybe sociopathic, maybe psychopathic and dark, would not give a fuck whether or not they were a narcissist. So if you feel guilt, if you feel shame, if you feel remorse, if you feel concern that you may be hurting somebody because you're a narcissist, you're not a narcissist, at least not on that level. There's varying degrees of everything. If you care about other people, you're not really a narcissist. And here's the thing. If you care about people, but you're worried that you're a narcissist because maybe you feel a little bit numb, maybe you just have trauma. So look at where the trauma comes from. Look at why you feel numb. If you care enough to research, there's hope for you, and let go of the label. We label everything. We have, we label people addicts. We label trauma. And one of my things is like destigmatizing all of it. Everybody has trauma. Everybody has addictions. And unless you're completely like sociopathic, meaning you don't feel compassion, you don't feel empathy, you don't give a fuck about anyone at all, you can heal. And that's what matters. That's the point. You can heal. I think one of the things that happens with a lot of empaths is if they had narcissistic abuse, and here I go doing another video on narcissists. I hope I don't do many more of these. If they were abused as children, one of the things that very self-centered people do is they will gaslight others. That's the narcissist. It's a narcissist. It's the hypocrite. They will kind of invert what's going on with them and project it onto you. So you might have had a parent who had a shit ton of trauma and couldn't look at themselves, and therefore blamed you for everything and made you responsible for everything. And so now you're questioning everywhere you go if it's your fault. Therefore, am I the narcissist? That's kind of the empathic pattern. Am I hurting other people? You were told you were selfish, you were self-centered, basically just because you had needs that weren't met. Okay, my mother was not a narcissist, but my mother had a lot of trauma. And my mother's mother may have been a bit of a narcissist. My mother is an incredibly compassionate person. She's like a mega empath, but she also had a lot of trauma and was so into people pleasing and she was imbalanced growing up. And so she would project a lot of things onto me, and she would make me hypersensitive and aware of everybody else's feelings, which to an extent was good because she was teaching me how to be compassionate and to live in integrity. But because she didn't have her own boundaries set because of her own trauma, she would do these long-winded sort of diatribes about how I hurt everybody's feelings and I ruined everybody's night and blah, 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 and basically make everything my fault when it really wasn't. So I grew up always thinking I was this horribly selfish, self-centered person because we needed to say thank you like 7 times every time we went to someone's house. And if I forgot once, just because I forgot, because I was a kid, I would get in all kinds of trouble and then sort of guilt tripped for ruining everybody's evening, when I kind of knew intuitively that the people whose house we were at didn't care. It was her, and it was her own fear of how she was being perceived by them because her kid forgot to say thank you based on her own rules. So what happens a lot with parents with trauma is they don't look at themselves and they take it out on the child. And then we, because we internalize everything as kids, think it's all our fault. And so if you can see how someone who's very empathic, who is blamed all the time, will feel like they're responsible for everything, and then their needs were never met or never allowed. So now when you're starting to look at your needs and realize that you have them, you feel like you're selfish and self-centered because all the blame was projected onto you. And now you're going to be like, oh, am I a narcissist? Why? Because you're curious about your own needs? No. It's just a label. But you know what? Basically, all parents do this, because basically all humans do this, because nobody knows who they are or how to manage or process their emotions. It's a planetary thing. All parents fuck up their children on some level because almost all parents were unconscious. Like, I know no one whose father was Jesus and mother was Mary Magdalene, like literally. And even if they were the parents, they would have fucked up their kids too on some level, because you're supposed to have trauma here because it's how you learn. Especially if you're meant to be a healer, you're meant to like contribute in a service level way to the planet. You have to go through those things. It's part of your life path. Okay? Another topic I want to bring up real quickly, came up off the last video I did, was a lot of people mentioned something to the extent of, yes, we live in an evil world. Okay. Now, the point I made in the last video is that sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissistic people are for real. And there are people out there that don't give a shit about anyone and don't have compassion and empathy. And that's a very important thing to understand, because yes, that does exist in our world. But the point I want to make that's very important is that all in all, on a higher level, there isn't evil. It's a tricky thing to navigate because in our 3D world, there kind of is, and from a higher perspective, there isn't. So one of the most important things to ask, if you have been in a relationship with a narcissist, or you're in a relationship with a narcissist, or you know someone who's a narcissist, is what is this person teaching me? Because everything has a role. That's divine neutrality. Without the dark, there would be no light. Without the struggle, there would be no freedom. Without the narcissist, without the sociopath, unfortunately, on some level, there would be no lessons for the rest of us who aren't like that to learn. And we all have shades of everything, by the way. We all have little shades of narcissism, okay? That's not truly being like a helpless, hopeless narcissist who doesn't give a fuck. Okay, but here's the thing. What is the lesson? This is something to ask yourself. It's different for everybody because there is no inherent lesson in anything except what you choose for the lesson to be. Generally, the narcissistic person is here to teach the empath boundaries, sovereignty, self-love, and how to get those things within themselves and from source. Because as children, the reason we're drawn to those kinds of people is because we didn't receive the kind of love that we needed as little kids. And sometimes that's because our parents were crazy, and sometimes it's just because kids are so sensitive that, like, if a mother isn't present for, like, 2 hours because she's off doing something else, the kid can take that to mean that it's not loved. When it is, it's so in the moment that it's like, in that moment it didn't feel the love, and so it developed the belief that, oh, I'm unlovable or I'm not loved, and that was internalized and carried with them, you, me, whoever, into adulthood. So the narcissistic person is here to teach strength, to teach boundaries, to teach sovereignty, to teach self-resourcing, self-love, how to move on, how to stop blaming yourself, how to stop taking responsibility for everything and everybody else's emotions, discernment, wisdom, all of these things. And yes, also that we live in a world that has everything in it. Extreme light and extreme dark. But when you begin to see that there's a purpose to all this, even the extreme darkness, and you harvest the lessons from this, you harmonize both sides of the polarity, the light, dark, and you come into what is called divine neutrality, where you have an extreme amount of strength, an extreme amount of wisdom, an extreme amount of discernment, and you no longer need those lessons anymore because you've learned them and you've integrated them. So if you walk away from a relationship with a fuck you or like getting revenge, you haven't fully learned the lesson that they're there to teach you. You're still in the polarity. Now you're going into the dark polarity to fight. So how can you begin to embody divine neutrality? How has whatever they did to you, how is that actually a gift? And I know this is hard. And I know it's not it's easier said than done if you're still like your husband of your 3 kids is terrorizing you. I get it. But you have the choice of either staying there or moving on and learning. Those are your choices. That's ultimately what we're here to do. We're here to learn how to choose. 3D is all about choice. And we're here to choose to learn from each experience, which is whatever we want. We make it up. So make up a more empowering lesson. Go easy on yourself. If you care, you're all right. There's hope. You can heal. And you're probably not a narcissist if you're watching videos worried that you are. Because ask yourself, why are you worried? Because you don't want to hurt anyone? There you go. You're not. You care. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any more questions, revelations, breakthroughs. I have a free energy clearing in the description below. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very, very much. Let me know if there's any other topics you want me to cover. Until next time, peace.